my arts drill shots, volume by volume.
Ruvain, I got some more names.
That's because you're in
You're keeping the list from Mel?
Give me up this morning.
I got some more too. Okay, we'll do all our administrativia before we start the daf.
One single Sid Ferris.
Okay, I got some more also. I got one for Ernie Bloom. I've got two, Yaakov and Sarah Schaefer, S-C-H-A-F-E-R. Yaakov and Sarah Schaefer, S-C-H-A-F-E-R. Okay. All right.
All right, very good. So we'll make a total 7 morning and
All right. Another item of administrativia, gentlemen, for those that are listening from, all DAF. If you feel that you want to hear a unique, I can't say unique, a special Siyum Maseches Tanis, okay, you can go on All Daf, where on Sunday at 9:30 in the morning from Englewood, okay, there will be a Siyum Maseches Tanis. Well, you can go online. The Magid Shiur, it will be Rabbi Aryeh Leibowitz from Beis Knesset North Woodmere, director of Smicha at Reitz, and he is going to be the guest speaker. Rabbi Leibowitz, by the way, gives the daf on All Daf, and from what I have heard from others who use All Daf, he gives a very, very nice shiur. Except,
are you recommending it?
no, I'm telling you that if for some reason I'm mentioning it also, is sometimes if people can't make a shiur in person, okay, and they,
That means you're gonna have to rush on Sunday.
no, what, we'll be done,
In order to get there.
but from what I also understand, you need to play it at 1.5 times and not at the regular time, because he speaks rather quickly. All right. Okay, so that is in case. What?
He's fast.
He is fast, isn't he? Okay. It's funny, a lot of these younger man, right? No, my I have 2 of my sons have smicha from YU, so they both know a lot of these guys. So.
Our speaker brother was a teacher how to talk fast.
I don't know. All right. We will start with our sponsors. And then we will go on to today's stuff. Just a reminder, please give your name to Mel or myself if you intend to come on Monday to Century Grill for our siyum.
Let us know no later than Sunday morning. I gotta give up.
Right. And that is, he's been very nice to accommodate us.
Okay.
That's funny. I know a school where they call it LaFell.
My love.
of our series, there's no guest speaker.
How do you know?
We haven't had.
I don't.
Well, so the rabbi came once, and got up and spoke. But basically, the Milo is
Okay.
no guest speaker.
Mel will work out who's doing what. Okay, let's go with our learning sponsors. We have a year of learning by Sue and Arnie Gerlich in memory of Malka Proman and Philip Mann, and Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and Yerivka Pro Rosna bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of her dear mom. Can you get by?
Yeah.
All right, you sure? Okay. In memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov. Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, Irving and Pearl Kaplan. Friends of Avi Gitler, Avram Meir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler, Charna bat Yeshaya. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova bat Yisrael Dov in her memory. Friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef ben Chaim, Charlie Galfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher. Friends of Nina Moinester, Nechama Azna bat Yitzchak Aharon. We have a month of learning by Marcia Federbush in memory of her father, Menachem Mendel ben Shlomo, by Ruvain and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Fredel Bashraga Feivel, Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Avram, and Rebecca Lewis and Susan Wotonsky in memory of their aunt and sister, Miriam Bad Yosef Devora. We have a week of learning by Marty and Marla Teichman in memory of his father, Yom Tov Lipa ben Avraham, by Edie Vigdor in memory of her father-in-law, Meir Leib ben Dov Bear, by Michael and Judy Poretsky in memory of his brother Avram ben Gershon. Today we also have a day of learning by Steve and Emma Hamburger in memory of his father Yosef ben Shimon. Okay. On Shabbos we have a day of learning by Kate and Saul Goldstein in memory of his father Eliezer Yehuda ben Tzvi. Okay. May Shamas have an aliyah, Kranka Rafia, Valti Yashir Hashem Latzliah, and L'chol B'nai Yisrael a good gebench.
Amen.
Okay. All right. Kafchet Amud Aleph today, right? Okay. Okay, remember at the end of the previous Amud, we were discussing what happens with a section of the Torah that's read in the Ma'amad, okay, and there would be only 5 psukim. We saw a machloket between Rav and Shmuel, Rav saying that you repeat, okay? In other words, the second person repeats the last pasuk and then continues. And Shmuel said posek, right? He said that you stop in the middle. Okay, it could be at the etnachta, as Michael suggested. Okay, and go that way. And we saw there was a response in regards to that you only broke up the pasuk for educational purposes, right? That was part of the issue, right? And we saw that, right? And at the end, where that Gemara, piece of Gemara, Shlosha lefi she'ein matchilin b'parsha pachot mishlosha psukim. Laman da'amar doleg, the one who said to skip, to repeat, lidlog, let him repeat. Laman da'amar posek, lifsok, And the one who says to stop or interrupt, okay, let him do that. Shani hatam de'idle ravcha, we said. That's where we finished on the top of Kafchet. And we pointed out Rashi's explanation there was very appropriate to remind us that it's a question of whether there is the opportunity, okay, the structure of the psukim is possible. Okay. So if we go on with the Gemara, now on the top of Kafchet, first line, Parsha Gedola, we said a Parsha Gedola was a portion that contained at least 6 psukim, right? Korin ota b'shnayim. One could read it with 2. Okay, coming back to our mission. Okay, b'shachrit, u'b'musaf, u'b'mincha. Okay, so on these 3 occasions, Korin al pihen. But the Mishnah went on and said that they recited it by heart, like the way we recite Kriyat Shema. So Gemara is bothered by this. What does that mean, okay, to recite it by heart? Okay, Ibayalahu. So the Gemara asks, Heichi ka'amar b'shachrit u'b'musaf korino ta b'sefer u'b'mincha korino ta al peh kekorina tishma. How is it possible, asks the Gemara, that in the morning, okay, whether for Shacharis or Musaf, okay, we recite it, we read the Torah from a text, from a klaf, from the book, all right? Whereas at Mincha, we would recite it by heart, the same way we recite Shema. O Dilma, or perhaps we need to understand it in the following manner. Hachi kama. This is what it comes to teach us. B'shacharit korino ta b'sefer. Okay, in the Torah reading for Shacharit, we read it right from the Sefer Torah. Uba Musaf, Uba Mincha. In these occasions, korino ta al peh ki korin et shma. Is that when we do it? Right, trying to clarify at what point would it be recited by heart as opposed to not read directly from the book.
When was the Musaf reading done? Before, after the Shemona Esrei?
That's a very good question. Okay, particularly if we keep in mind that
The Shacharis reading is right, basically just before Musaf.
right. Okay, all right. So it could very well be, yes, Doug.
We say in Muslim,
We quote the psukim. All right. So, but I think Michael's point. You're right, but I think Michael's point is, let's assume for the moment that they would have taken a Sefer Torah out and read it from there. That's the impact of Michael's question, right? Then when would they have done that? Okay, would they have done that first and then daven Musaf Amida?
Learn the first statement that by Shacharis and Musaf, meaning the Kriya between. But when you get over here and they say Shacharis, you take out a Sefer, Musaf and Mincha, you do it al peh.
Right.
That's pretty tricky.
Well, but let's make the comparison for a moment with Mincha, okay? To try to answer your question. In Mincha on Shabbos, we read first right before Shemona Esrei. So it could very well be that same model. I'm just suggesting. I didn't see a note in Art Scroll, and I looked at Art Scroll yesterday for it, and I didn't see a note in Koran either.
And nobody seems even bothered by it with a footnote.
Right. Okay, so that's.
when is this occurring?
This is done in the Ma'amad, in the assembly, okay, where they would read in the community.
Of the family that gave.
All right, based on the Mishmar, the Kohan station that was due that particular week to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay,
Only with the families that brought the wood.
right.
What do they mean by mincha? You read it by yourself.
That's what the Gemara is trying to clarify. They don't understand that. Okay, and we're going to get a stronger question to add to that, because let's wait and see. Let's get to the Gemara. because it's going to ask your question in a different way that brings it all the more.
It's actually gonna ask this question twice.
Yeah, okay. So that's why. So Tashma, listen to a bright, says the Gemara. Okay, the Tanya, we taught elsewhere. B'shacharit u'b'musaf, nichnesim lebeit haKnesset, v'korin kederech shekorin kol hashana. Okay, so that would seem to say that we read it Shacharis and Musaf as would be a normal reading in the synagogue every day when the Torah is read. That is, u'b'mincha yachid koreo ta'al peh. And in mincha, an individual would recite it, okay, by
Or the
heart,
shul,
okay?
in this.
Now, look at the question that the Gemara is now going to ask, or Rabbi Yossi really, is asking, V'chi yachid yachol likrot divrei Torah al peh b'tzibor? Is it possible that an individual will recite or read the words of Torah, okay, by heart in the public and fulfill the public's obligation? That's the question. Okay, is it possible that that's the case? Now, one comment that Corin suggested actually was that they all recited it together.
That's the second.
Right, that's what we're going to see.
No, that's coming up.
Yeah. Okay, Ella rather, kulan nichnasin v'korino ta'al peh. But all of them enter the synagogue. They all recite it. They all read it by heart, or recite it by heart. Kikorin et Shema, the same way they recite Shema. Okay.
What does by heart mean? They look into a chumash or they have to know?
It means anything but a clock.
Anything but a clock, okay.
Okay. In other words, they don't read it from the Sefer Torah. Okay. Now, what happens? Mishnah picks up. We come back to our Mishnah. Kol yom sheyesh bo halel, ein bo ma'amad b'chulei. Any day that Hallel was recited, okay, we don't, the ma'amad does not gather.
Special.
Okay, all right, so that was, now, I will tell you as we go through this, that I found, or at least it appeared to me, two different shatim between Art Scroll and Koren. Okay, so as we go through it, we'll see what we can. So the Gemara asks, Ma hefresh bein zeh lezeh. What was the difference between this and this? Now, according, if I remember correctly, to our scroll, it was Rabbi, right, Yehoshua, that said that we had a question between mincha and ne'ilah.
Whether you do a ne'ilah or not.
Okay, that was how Art Scroll presented it when it said bein zeh lezeh. All right, that there was no ma'amad, therefore, at ne'ilah because of the wood offering. Koren, however, explained it a little differently. It said, what was the difference between the wood offering and the musaf offering? That's how they wanted to explain it. Okay? And Rashi?
Rashi said it on the day of the wood offering, where they had a ne'ilah added. So Art Scroll is just picking up Rashi.
Rashi. Okay? But I wanted us to be sensitive to the fact that it could be that the implication is Koren took it more on what the offering was, wood versus animal musaf offering, whereas the Art Scroll wanted to use those as examples of the different services.
Yeah,
That's
Tosfos says that if there's this wood offering, you delay the mincha.
Okay.
What's the wood offering?
We're going to see certain families brought at a time when there was no wood available in the Lishkat HaGazit, certain families volunteered to bring their own wood for the welfare of the Mizbeach. Okay, and the Gemara is going to go into that in more detail. Okay. Halalu divrei, so the answer that's given, halalu divrei Torah, v'halalu divrei sofrim, that we are, on the one hand, one is considered to be Torah mandated, on the other, it's considered rabbinically mandated. Okay? All right. Exactly. Mincha would be the Oraisa, and Ne'ilah would be considered the Rabbanah. That would be the explanation, which could apply to both the Art Scrolls point of saying the difference between Mincha and Ne'ilah. Okay, and it actually is a little easier, a smoother shot there, I would say, as opposed to the Koran. So you could say theoretically that maybe the Musaf, the animal offering, is the Oraita, and the wood offering could be the Rabbanan. But I'm not as comfortable with that as opposed to the answer better applying to Art Scrolls shot here. Okay, let's go on. Zman atzei kohanim b'ha'am. We said why, we're going to ask, why is the Mishnah including then a statement about the time of bringing the wood offering and others that went along with it, other groups of Israelites, it would appear. Okay, so a new bright. Tana Rabbanan. Lama hutzrachu lomar zman atzei kohanim b'ha'am. Why was it necessary, says the bright, to specify the time when wood was brought by Kohen families and others that accompanied them, right? Amru, we say as follows. Okay, a couple of interesting stories. Kashe'alu b'nei hagola lo matzu etzim b'lishka. When they came up from exile, in other words, the time of the return of Ezra, etc. All right, and they came to rebuild, right? They did not find wood. All right. Va'amdu ela vehitnadvu mishelahem. And these came forward, I'm going to say, and they volunteered to give of their own wood. Right? V'kach hitnu nevi'im shebeinehem. And so, therefore, a condition was established by those prophets that were with them. She'afilu lishka mele'a etzim. That even if the lishka, the storehouse, I'm going to use that phrase for the moment, or storeroom in which the wood was normally kept, was full of wood, yiyu elu mitnadvin mishelahem. They will use their volunteered wood, right? As it was said, right? And that occasion, why? Based on the pasuk in Nehemiah, all right? And by the way, that's chapter 10 here, but chapters 8, 9, and 10 Nehemiah give a very more detailed discussion of what happened when they came and brought back and reestablished everything in the Beis HaMikdash, right? V'hagoralot hipalnu al korban ha'etzim ha'kohanim ha'leviim v'ha'am lahavi lebeit Eloheinu lebeit avotenu le'itim mezumanim shana b'shana leba'er al hamizbeach Hashem Elokeinu kakatu b'Torah. Okay, so a long pasuk that basically said they drew lots, and therefore it fell on these individuals. They would bring the wood, okay, as was done by our ancestors, as defined by the Torah. Okay, now we get to
specific families.
Right, and we saw previously the Gemara cited the names of some of those families.
What were the lots for? Decide what?
To which one would do it on which occasion?
Dates.
Right.
The
Okay.
lots, every
Now.
single one had a date on it.
Right. So what happened? Okay. I think it was actually more for which family would bring on a different,
In what order?
what order.
Sequence.
Right. Now, we've got this statement, V'imahem, Kohanim v'Levim v'Chol Mi, etc. What about these other groups? Who were they? Why did they get this? I'm going to use the word merit for the moment to be able to,
Participate.
right, to participate. What did they do to justify, right, their inclusion? Okay, because remember we said these Kohanim families, they celebrated that day as a chag for themselves, as a Yom Tov. Okay, they brought a nice tikkun for everybody. Okay, so what happened?
12-year-old Scott.
Okay, so long as the 12-year-old didn't drink the scotch, right? Okay. Tanu Rabbanan says a right there. Okay, Mahayu b'nei gonvai alei ub'nei kotzai k'tzion. Who were these then? Individuals who smuggled a pestle with themselves, or who brought cut figs with themselves. Okay, those were the names of the two groups. All right. I don't know if they were the same, right?
You'll see from the
We'll
story.
see. Amru pam echad gazra hamalchut gzeira al Yisrael shelo yaviu eitzim lema'aracha v'shelo yaviu bikurim lYerushalayim. Okay, that once the wicked, the Greeks, it was declared okay, against the Jews that they could not bring wood for the Mizbeach, right? Okay, and that they could not bring Bikurim, first fruits, to Jerusalem. V'hoshivu pros da'ot al hadrachim, and they established guards or sentries on the roads. Kederech shehoshiv Yeravam ben Navat shelo ya'alu Yisrael regel. The same way that was done by Yerovam ben Navat, that's found in Kings, First Kings, around chapter 8, around 9, 10, around there, okay, where he did not want his people to be going to Jerusalem. So he set up sentries so they would be forced to utilize the
Well, like
bridge,
Trump closed the border.
right? Although we won't go into politics right now. Anyway, so what happens? Shelo ya'alu Yisrael areg. Ma asu, right? Sharim. What did these valid, vital people do? Shaba'oto hador v'yirei chet. That in that generation they were also God-fearing, right? Heviu, excuse me, Salei Bikurim. Sorry. They brought baskets of fruit, right? And what did they do? V'chifum b'ketziot. And they covered the top of the basket with dry figs. V'natlum v'alai. And they took along with them pestle, okay? A utensil, all right? That would be used for pounding, baking, hardening, working with, okay? Al ketfeim, on their shoulders. V'kevan she'egiu etzel pros da'ot, amru lahem, lahechana tem holchin. When they reached the guards or sentries, they asked them where you're going, and this is what they told them. Omrim lahem la'asot shnei egulei dveila b'machteshet shelefanenu. We are going to make 2 fig loaves, fig rings, okay, fig cakes, really, okay, and right, using this in the mortar, okay,
That's at Schwartz's house.
okay, shelefanenu, that's before us. In other words, we need these pestles that we can bang it in order to form the fig cakes, okay. Right, so what happens? Uba'alei sha'al ketfenu, with these mortars that are on our shoulders, right? Kevan she'avru mehen, once they passed the guards, itrum, they decorated the baskets, besalim vehevium lYerushalayim, and then they brought the baskets of first fruits to Jerusalem. Tana, okay? So the Gemara tells us, now we have a Braita that tells us, hein b'nei salmai hanutufatai. These are the family, the progeny of Salmi. That was his name from the Tufatai. Tanu Rabbanan. So the Braita, new Braita. Ma hein b'nei Salmai hanutufatai. Who were these progeny of Salmei, Amru Pam Echad, Gazra HaMalchut Gezerah Al Yisrael Shelo Yaviu Eitzim L'Maracha. One time again, it was the Greek government that decreed that they could not bring wood for the Mizbeach. V'hoshivu prosdaot al drachim, kederech shehoshiv Yerovam ben Nevat al hadrachim, in the same way that Yerovam had established guards along the roadway, right? Shelo yalu Yisrael l'regel, that they would not go to Jerusalem for the pilgrimage festivals. Ma'asu yirei chet sheba'oto hador. What were those that were God-fearing? What did they do? Heviu gzerehen. They brought their axes. Va'asu sulamot. And they made ladders, right? Notice, by the way, the pun on the word sulamot. Okay, right? We'll get to that. And also his name, right? Vehenichu al kefem, and they put the ladders on their shoulders, and they went to them. Kevan shegiu etzlan, when they got to the guards, amru lahen lehechanatem holchim, where are you going? Amru lahem, so they told the guards, lahavi gozalot mishovach shelefanenu. We're going to bring doves down from the dovecote. That's why we need the ladders to climb up to get the doves to bring them down, right? V'sulamot she'al ktefenu, and we're going to do that with the ladders that are here on our shoulders. Kevan she'avru mehen, once they passed, pirkum, they used the axes to chop up the ladders, right? V'havium v'ha'alum l'Yerushalayim, and they then brought them to Jerusalem. V'alehem v'al kol yokutzei behem, and for them and those progeny that descended from them, Omer, we say, Zecher tzadikim lebracha, that they should remember for good. V'al Yerovam ben Nevat v'chaverav ne'amar v'shem rishayim yirkav. May they rot. Okay? All right, let's go on. New piece from the Mishnah. Besrim bo b'nei Pachat Moav ben Yehuda. So now we're getting to the dates.
Ask them why they needed the axes.
Okay, so now we're getting to the dates when the Kohen families would bring. Okay, so what happens? Tana b'nei Pachat, Moab ben Yehuda. They said the sons of Pachat were Moab ben Yehuda. Hein b'nei David ben Yehuda. They are the same as David ben Yehuda. Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's the view of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yossi Omer, he says, Hein b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya. No, they are the progeny of Yoav ben Tzruya.
That's a cousin.
Okay, right.
They're Davidic also.
Also from
David's sister.
progeny of David. Be'esrim be'Elul, on the 20th of Elul, B'nei Adin ben Yehuda, the sons of Adin ben Yehuda, V'chulei. Tanu Rabbanan, we've got another brighter. B'nei Adin ben Yehuda, Hein b'nei David ben Yehuda. No, they are the progeny of David ben Yehuda. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Omer, Hein b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya. No, they are the descendants of Yoav ben Tzruya. So we see a machloket between which family, all right? So the Gemara tells us, Be'echad b'tevet, going on, all right? Shavu b'nei Parosh Shniya, that on the first of Tevet returned the progeny of Parush a second time. Mani, according to whom? Matnitin, then is our Mishnah. Lo Rabbi Meir, it can't then be Rabbi Meir. Velo Rabbi Yehuda, and it can't be Rabbi Yehuda. Velo Rabbi Yossi, and it can't be Rabbi Yossi, because none of them said it, okay, as if so-and-so returned. Rabbi Meir, if it was Rabbi Meir, Litnei Shavu b'nei David ben Yehuda Shniya, let him teach that b'nei David ben Yehuda came back a second time. Rabbi Yehuda, if it were Rabbi Yehuda, Litnei Shavu b'nei David ben Yehuda Shniya, let him teach that the progeny of David ben Yehuda came back a second time. Rabbi Yossi, if it's Rabbi Yossi, Litnei Shavu b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya Shniya, let him teach that the progeny of Yob ben Tzruya came back a second time. Says the Gemara Li'olam Rabbi Yossi. Ideally, it must be Rabbi Yossi. Why? Tonight, Utrei Tanai Aliba de Rabbi Yossi. And we have two different Tanaim, however, that recount the lesson that Rabbi Yossi was saying differently. Be'echad b'tevet, on the first of Tevet, a new piece, Lo haya bo ma'amad. According to this Mishnah, it said there was no ma'amad assembly on that first day of Tevet. Amar le mar kashisha berei de Rav Chisda Rav Ashi. And so a shaila is asked by Mar Kashisha, okay, the son of Rav Chisda, to Rav Ashi as we go over. Ma'ishna halel de dache didei. U'ma'ishna musaf de lo dache didei. Okay, so his question may be explained. Why is it that the musaf suspends its own, but what about the mincha? Okay, right? Why does it suspend its own, but doesn't suspend the other? Okay, Amar le Rav Ashi. Okay, Hashta de lavdi de dachi. Here we say it doesn't suspend its own. Okay, so the Gemara now tells us what happens. Right? Didei lo kol shekain. Right? But if it suspends its own, it doesn't suspend its own. Okay. What about suspending a different one? All the more so. Amarle hachi ka'aminala. So Mar Kashisha says, no, this is what I really meant to ask. Okay? I phrased the question incorrectly. Lo lidche ela didei. That it doesn't suspend except its own.
That means
right?
they
It
don't make
expends it,
shnuyim in
right?
shacharis.
It's shachar, it suspends itself, namely being in shacharis when it suspends it. Okay, but what about the whole question of Musa? All right, Amarle, Ika Rabbi Yossi the Kai Kavate. There is an opinion of Rabbi Yossi that holds according to you. To Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer. Why? Because Rabbi Yossi says as follows, right? Kol yom sheyesh bo musaf. Any day when there is, I'm going to say, a musaf offering, yesh bo ma'amad. There is a ma'amad, okay? They'll do the ma'amad assembly. Ma'amad de ma'ai, okay, an assembly for then when? Okay, ilema ma'amad de shachrit. Okay, if we were going to say that they assemble for the purpose of shachrit, right? Ha Tanakama nami hachikama. Here, Tanakama has already said that. Okay, that they would gather for shachrit. As we saw, they gathered, they davened, they read Torah, etc. Okay, and they told us how much they had to read. Okay, Ela ma'amad de musaf didei nami lo dache ela de mincha. But the assembly for musaf, okay, what about that? All right, that did not suspend it, but rather it suspended it for mincha. That's what seemed. So they would defer the ma'amad for mincha, okay, because of that case. Now, korban eitzim dachi, but we also said that a wood offering would seem to suspend it. Ela lav de neila shmamina didei dachi. Would it not therefore be then for neila also that it would also be suspended? The lav didei lo dachi shmamina. Okay, that it was not for its sake that it was suspended. And that's what we learned for that.
Not for something other than that.
Other than its own sake. So the Gemara now picks up. Vilitne. So let us teach it this way. Nami be'echad b'Nisan. Also on the first of Nisan. We just said that that was a situation if it was first of Tevet. So is that the only occasion?
You say how,
Right? Is that the only occasion? What about this first of Nisan, right?
That's
Okay.
also Rosh Chodesh.
Okay, it's also right. Nami be'echad b'Nisan lo hayu bo ma'amad. If it had worked for the first of Tevet as a Rosh Chodesh, shouldn't it work also for the first of Nisan then? That they would not have an ma'amad, mipnei sheyesh bo halel, because on that occasion you'd have halel, ukorban musaf, and you'd have a musaf offering, v'korban eitzim, and you'd also have the wood offering. So you have three items there that would say that therefore they shouldn't be meeting. Amar Rava, says Rava, Zot Omeret. So that would seem to tell us, Halelia de Beresh Yarcha, Lavda Oraita, that recitation of the Hallel on Rosh Chodesh is not Torah mandated.
This is all Lav Dafka because
Right?
So therefore, you would say it would not be docha.
any of the Maimon.
Right. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara then continues. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rosh, right? Rabbi Shimon ben Yehotzadek, in the name of Rabbi Yehotzadek. And what is he going to tell us? He's going to review quickly what are the occasions by when Hallel would be recited, right? Namely, Shmona Asar Yom B'Shana, 18 days throughout a year, Yachid Gomer Bahen et HaHalel. And notice the language. An individual completes, okay, the recitation of the Hallel. Okay? Ve'elu hein, and what are they? Shmonat Yemei HaChag, the 8 days of Sukkot. Ushmonat Yemei Chanukah, the 8 days of Chanukah. That gives us 16, right? V'yom Tov Harishon Shel Pesach, the first day of Pesach, right? V'yom Tov Rishon Shel Atzeret, and the first day of Shavuot. Ubegola and Chutz La'aretz. What do we say? Okay, on the diaspora, Esrim ve'echad Yom. It's 21 days. Ve'elu hein, and they are Tishat Yemei HaChag, the 9 days associated with Sukkot. That includes now Simchas Torah, right? Ushmonat Yemei Chanukah, the 8 days of Chanukah. Ushnei Yamim Harishonim Shel Pesach, the first 2 days of Pesach. Ushnei Yamim Tovim Shel Atzeret, and the 2 days of Shavuot. Now we get a nice little story, all right? Okay, which tells us the following. Rav Ikla Bavel. Rav came to Babylonia. Okay, Chazinu the Kakaru Hallelujah Bereish Yacha, and he saw that they were reciting Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. Savar la'afsukinu, he thought to stop them. Okay, Kevan dechaza tekam medalge deluge, since he saw that they skipped certain sections. In other words, they did not do the complete Hallel, but an abbreviated Hallel, right? Amar, we assume he said to himself, Shma mina minhag avotehem biyadehem, that this must be their minhag, okay, that they recite it in an abbreviated manner, and therefore he did not stop them. Tana, but we have a braita that taught, Yachid lo yatchil, v'im gomer. An individual should not recite it, start reciting it, but if he does recite it, he recites the entire piece. He finishes.
Keeps going, but if it's Rosh Chodesh, you still leave
Not
out.
on Rosh Chodesh.
And on Pesach, you still leave out. In other words,
The-
if you're
the
not, if I'm
Days
not-
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of Pesach and Rosh Chodesh, you don't do
you don't
complete
say-
Hallel.
Lechatchila, and if you can't go to shul, you don't say Hallel at all. But if you've started Hallel, you continue, but you only do the. That's what it means.
I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure. You're saying that
Look
if
at
a
Rashi.
person If a person
Ein
can't,
tzorech lahaschil b'rosh chodesh. An individual should not start saying Hallel if it's Rosh
ein
Chodesh.
sorech, it's not a statement that it's a asur.
All right. go back
Okay.
there.
It's okay.
Right.
That's the difference. Okay. All right. Let's go on. Chamisha dvarim iru et avotenu b'shiva asar b'tamuz and etc. So now we're getting shiva asar b'tamuz. What were the 5 things? Number 1, nishtabru aluchot minalan, that we say that the tablets were broken. On what basis? The Tanya. We're going to get now an example of what happened at Har Sinai. When did it occur? The dating, etc. By the way, we know that there's a machloket there. The Tanya says a Braita. B'shisha lechodesh, on the 6th, right, of the month, nitnu aseret hadebrot liYisrael. The 10 commandments were given to Jewish people. Rabbi Yossi Omer b'shiv'a bo. He says it was on the 7th. Man da'amar b'shisha nitnu. According to the one who says it was given on the 6th. B'shisha nitnu u'b'shiv'a ala Moshe. It was given on the 6th, and on the 7th, what?
Moshe
went
Har
up.
Sinai.
Okay. Man da'amar b'shiv'a, the one who says it was on the 7th. B'shiva nitnu, b'shiva ala Moshe. It was given on the 7th, and he went up on the 7th. Dichtiv, as it's written, Vayikra el Moshe bayom hashvi'i, and he called to Moshe on the 7th day. Uktiv, and then it's written, Vayavo Moshe b'toch ha'anan, vayal el hahar, vahi Moshe bahar arba'im yom va'arba'im laila. And he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay. Namely, Esrim va'arba'a de Sivan, right? Veshitzar de Tammuz, Malu lahan arba'in. Okay. From, he said, those 24 days of Sivan and 16 days in Tammuz, that satisfies the number 40. B'shivsar b'Tammuz, on the 17th of Tammuz, nichet ata v'tavrinhu leluchot. That's when he came down and then broke the luchos. Uktiv, and it was written, Vayhi ka'asher karev el hamachaneh, vayar et ha'egel, vayeshlach miyadav et haluchot, v'yishber atam tachet hahar. So those are the psukim. So that was the point. Batel had, so that was the first example, just to show that even though there was a difference of the issue, they make the association with Shiva Sabbatam. Second, Batel hatamid gamra, that the tamid was nullified, that we learned from Masorah. Third example, huvkaha ha'ir, that the city walls were destroyed. Okay, B'yud, right? B'yud Zayin Hava, that was on the 17th, Vaktiv. But wait a second, says the Gemara. In Yirmiyahu, we have written the following. B'chodesh HaRevi'i, the 4th month, B'tish'a l'chodesh, the 9th day of the month, V'chazek ha'ra'av, the famine became severe, Ba'ir in the city, Ukativ Batre, and after that it's written, V'tiv Kaha'ir V'gomer. That would seem to imply from that pasuk in Yirmiyahu that it occurred on the 9th, right? Amar Rava lo kasha. No problem, he says. Kan b'rishona, kan b'shniya. In one case, we're talking about the first temple. In another case, we're talking about the second temple. Okay, going on. Titania, as was taught in the Braita, b'rishona huvkaha ha'ir b'tisha b'tammuz. Okay, regarding the initially, in other words, the first temple, okay, the city was destroyed on the 9th of Tammuz. B'shniya, b'shiva asar bo. Right, this law was breached, right? Okay, and on the second occasion, on the 17th. For another example of the Shiva Sabbatam is Sarafa Postamos et Torah Gamra. Okay, there too, we have a Masorah that we learned. Finally, the next, Ha'amid Selam Behechal Minalam, that one put an image in the Hechal based on what? Dichtiv and Daniel, it's written there. Ume'et Husar Hatamid, V'latet Shikutz Shumen. Okay, V'chadhu. So in other words, based on the pasuk from Daniel, okay, from that time, they ceased the Tamid and they put in an abomination. But since the word abomination, we might imply that that was only one idol put in there. V'chad hava, v'haktiv. But isn't it also written there? V'al knaf shikutzim misumam. Okay, that shikutzim there is in the plural, implying at least two. Okay, Amar Rava says Rava, Trei havu. There were two idols there. V'nafal chad al chavrei, and one of them fell on top of the other idol. V'tavrei levidei, and it broke the hand of the other idol. Right? V'ishtakach dahavu kativ, and that's why we find that it's written, Anat tzavit lecharuve beita. Okay, I came to destroy the house of God. Yadach ashlimat le. Okay, and I will come and I will,
Cut off your.
well,
Pay
could
back.
be, pay you back, in a sense, a direct translation. Pay you back accordingly. All right, and that's where we're going to stop today to pick up the new topic tomorrow of the items declared on Tisha B'Av. Okay. All right, everybody have a good shop.
Thank you, Reb. Good job.
Very good
Good
shop.
job.
It seems that they gave credit to the island that they was able to say something.
Yeah.
That was very handy.